Hello guys, do not go anywhere. In today's episode, in this trip down memory lane, we're going to look at this awesome Panasonic camcorder that I used to use back in the day. And if that sounds interesting to you, I'm Dave from TVR Creators, and I make weekly content for the best cameras for creators and hobbyists. If that sounds interesting to you, don't forget to like and subscribe. So in today's video, I wanted to look at this really cool Panasonic camcorder that I used to use back in the day. And I just thought I'd share this with you as a trip down memory lane. And it's just like, this camera was really cool. Now this camera is basically an SD camera. I don't believe it's even HD. I'll put the exact figure, the model of it in the description. No, it is full HD, I'll take it back. But this was basically the first camcorder that I used back in the day when I used to do my little films and stuff. I'm talking like 10, 15 years ago now. But this, for its day, and even still now, you can still use one of these cameras. You could probably get one of these for quite cheap. I will have a little look for you if I can find one. But it's really cool. You know, it has its nice little flip screen, which is really handy. It sort of faces you. I believe it was a touch screen as well, if I remember rightly. Easy to record button, nice little optical zoom in and out, that sort of thing, which was really handy. It had its SD card, which slotted. I don't know if you can see it there, slotted there, which was really nice. The battery that used to come with it, you could actually get a bigger battery so it lasted longer. But the tip I still use today, which I used to use back in these sort of days, I used to, every time I wasn't recording or using the camera necessarily, I'll just turn it off. And the battery used to last fine, because I have heard, you know, some people say, oh, why don't the battery last longer? That's just a little tip I found to make it last easier. It does have a manual sort of focus and a manual sort of stabilizer, which is really handy if you do moving shots and moving around and all that sort of jazz. What's really cool, it has a nice little shutter. There you go, which protects the lens, which is really nifty, which is really nice on this camera. I used to like it because it was light and agile. It's much lighter than the cameras I use nowadays. But I used to literally just stick this on a tripod, press record, and off I went, which made it so easy. And you probably remember these back in school days when your parents would film your school play and stuff like that. Perhaps even bigger ones actually. It was probably more like, depending on your age. But nowadays they probably just use phones only, or you're not allowed to. But you know, it's got a little light which was quite nifty, so if you're filming at night time or in low light, that was quite handy, especially if you're doing goose films. Ooh, that was quite cool. But basically, I'll be honest, this used to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, as I now like to put it. You know, you just put on a tripod, press record, off you went, and it was just really, really easy to use. And you know, it wasn't really like sort of the mirrorless cameras and the cameras I use nowadays when you play around with ISO and all that. A camcorder's job is basically just to press record and go. And obviously it does have digital zoom, which is obviously a little bit grainy, but I used to find it's quite good in all different lights. Zooming in and out is always good. You know, it does have a light, as I said. It was easy to turn on and off. You could actually connect this. You could charge it by USB cable. You can connect a HDMI to it to watch stuff on telly straight from the camera if you want to, or you can take the SD card out or transfer data by USB to edit later. And I used to do a lot of videos with this in the early days of YouTube and stuff like this. So for me, this is a bit of a trip down memory lane. It was definitely a workhorse back in the day. This really was my M50 of 15 years ago. It was a nice camera, did everything I needed to do, and I was quite saddened to see the end of it, but I just got to a point where I just felt I needed something more professional, and that's why I went with a proper like Canon camcorder, and then I went pretty much straight to the M50. But you know, if any of you ever use a camera like this or similar, please put it in the comments below. It'd just be really interesting to know what you thought of these sort of cameras, and if you've got any stories, feel free to share them. If you've got any questions, I'll do my best to answer them, though in a nice possible way. There's not really a lot to say about this. It just takes still shots, which is cool. I wouldn't recommend it for still shots, especially nowadays. It does do that. But what, you know, ultimately what was cool about this, you had a little strap, you used to hold it, it stabilized very well, and off you went. That was basically the job of this camera. And you know, it's just a nice little trip down memory lane. I have stories of filming out and about across hills and cities, and you know, I've used this camera in all sort of different things. But you know what, for now I'm just gonna say I'll leave 2 end cards. I'm gonna bring you even more value. If that sounds interesting, you don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.